What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made these beautiful, delicious, crunchy, smoky, crispy skin whole hog egg rolls. Coming up. This is some pork. Pat it dry. This is a skin-on piece of pork belly, and we got a little bit of loin meat in there. You may recognize this from the last time I did a porchetta, when I broke down the entire pig. This is the other part of the porchetta that I cut off, and I said that I'd probably make some whole hog pulled pork out of it. Honestly, this guy will probably just turn into some amazing direct heat pulled pork for another day. Well, today is that day. Should be a perfect cut for it. It's nice and fatty. We got all the belly meat running through there, which is some of the best part of whole hog barbecue. We've also got some loin here, so we're gonna get some different textures going on. And of course, it's covered in skin, so we're gonna get some beautiful, crispy cracklings once this thing is all done. Not really gonna do much. If there's something weird hanging off like that, go ahead and take that off. But really, this is all gonna be shredded up at the end of the day, so don't really need to do much at all. Although I am gonna hit it with some salt. Don't need to do this because we can always adjust for salt at the end once it's all pulled, but might as well give it a little head start. And of course, you can do whatever rub you like, but we're cooking this thing direct heat. So this bottom side is gonna get blasted pretty hard, so you might not notice the nuances of more complex rubs. Can't forget the sides. Anywho, I think it's time to fire up the pit. And on the pit we go, skin side up. And like we do with most crispy skin whole hog style cooks, we're gonna put a whole bunch of salt on this skin. Not so much for seasoning, but just to protect it from all the smoke so it doesn't get all dark and rubbery on us. And the salt will dry out moisture. So by the time we flip this thing, this skin will crisp up real easily. And of course, 99% of this salt will come off, so you don't need to worry about it being too salty. Looking good to me. We're gonna rock this pit around 275, 300. If it creeps up to 325, I'm not gonna be too mad about it. But with a fatty piece like this, I'm gonna aim to cook this really hot in the beginning and then probably slow it down a little bit, because once this gets up in temp and we hit the fat rendering stage, that's when we enter grease fire territory. So that's when we wanna be a little bit more careful with our heat. So we'll check back in a little bit. While that cooks away, let's go ahead and get ourselves a mop sauce ready. Starting with some butter. Once that is nice and bubbly and hot, we're gonna go in with one small white onion. Let that soften down for a couple minutes. And once those have cooked down thoroughly and are just starting to brown, we're gonna go in with some freshly chopped garlic and let that toast away for just a few minutes. One of the best smells in the world. Next up, we're going in with some red chili flakes, some mustard powder, and some paprika. I like to let that toast for a minute or so before going in with some white vinegar and some apple cider vinegar, as well as some lemon. And while that comes up to a simmer, we're gonna go in with a healthy shot of some hot sauce. Oh yeah, nice and spicy, nice and tangy. A nice glug of some Worcestershire sauce. And might as well finish that off. Some brown sugar to cut through that acidity a little bit. And to thin it out, add a little more body, we're gonna add some Miller Lite. Beautiful. We're gonna let this simmer for a little bit, make sure all those flavors are incorporated, and our mop sauce is done. We are about 4 hours into this little hog cook here, and as you can see, it's nice and smoky. Just clocked an internal temperature of around 175 to 185 degrees in various parts of this thing, so now it is time to give it a flip. But first, we take off all the salt. Skin is looking perfect. That's exactly what we want it to look like. Feels nice and hard, didn't turn brown or weird colors or anything. So now all we need to do is flip this thing over. Whew, looking beautiful. Not sure if you can see it through the smoke here, but that's exactly the color we're looking for. Nothing is too crunchy, nothing is burned. Just a nice red color to it. And now, of course, it's time to bust out our beautiful little mop sauce, which is not only gonna add some wonderful flavor to this pork, but also soften up this bottom side, because it's been getting blasted for the last couple hours, so this will help soften it up, add some beautiful flavors in there. And of course, now our skin will start to get crispy. So I'm gonna come through and do this probably every 15 minutes until this thing is looking good to go. Just about 2 hours later, this thing is looking absolutely beautiful. Bubbling away, nice and smoky. I've hit it with the mop sauce plenty of times. We'll do one more for good measure. You know, it's just kind of fun doing this. Love it. Smells fantastic. But I think it's time to pull this thing off and see how our crispy skin is looking. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, that doesn't look terrible. I gotta say, that is some of the best looking skin I've ever seen. All the tiny little bubbles in there. Woo! There's just something so addicting about crispy pork skin, and oh yeah. spat don't lie. Love it. So we're gonna let this thing cool down for a good long time because it is piping hot. I clocked it around 205 at some parts, 210 at other parts. So we know this is fully cooked. All that fat is rendered out. But before we go sticking our hands in there, we gotta let it rest. Which gives us plenty of time to knock out a quick coleslaw. Starting with some apple cider vinegar. Ooh, nice and steamy. Some oil, an aggressive amount of sugar, granulated mustard, some celery seed, and some kosher salt. And just give that a nice little whisk until everything is nicely dissolved. You know what, I'm also gonna throw in a couple of red chili flakes, as well as some freshly cracked black pepper. And we're gonna set this aside to cool down. Oh, just a little bit. Oh, there we go. Ooh, smells like a nice vinegary slaw to me. Beautiful. This kind of looks like the world's weirdest brisket, but anywho, it has rested. And let's go ahead and pull this apart, starting by removing this beautiful, all in one piece, beautiful crispy skin. Okay, did not rest as much as I thought. And just like that in one big piece. Skin removed. Love that. And of course, we've got all of this lovely pork, nice and fatty, nice and hot. And I don't know if y'all know much about whole hog, but if you do, then you know that this is some of the best bites you can ever have in the world of barbecue. They call this pork sketty or midlands, which is just the belly meat. When it pulls apart like that, oh my God, it's the best part. It's just another great form of pork belly. Just shreds right apart in these long strands. Makes for the best sandwiches if it's properly pulled. Oh yes, please. If briskets have burn ends, then whole hogs have midlands. And that's what we're talking about. The best stuff. It's like confit almost, you know? So much fat. Oh my God. It is unbelievable. Direct heat flavor to the max on this cook. Because it's mostly pork belly, there was so much fat dripping the whole time. It's really got that fat smoke flavor. Oh, it's so good. One of these days I'll make a pork sketty and meatballs video. That'd be fun. And then of course on this side, if we take this fat cap off, we can see all this loin meat, which is the opposite. It's very flaky and very dry. But together, these two things mix together for just perfect pulled pork. And that's the main benefit of doing a whole hog or a cut like this, as opposed to just doing a shoulder, is you get these different textures coming together, and it's just a much more unique eating experience. Oh, love it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and shred all this stuff up. I'm actually really glad that the lean is on here because there was a lot of fat on that hog, a lot of fat back, and this would be a very greasy pulled pork if we didn't have this loin meat in there to help kind of balance out the equation. Beautiful stuff! And of course, to flavor it up even more, we're gonna go on with some of our mop sauce. Don't want it to go to waste. And as always, folks, be sure to go ahead and give this a taste real quick. Tasting absolutely amazing, although it could use a little bit more salt, as to be expected. And it could also use just a little bit more heat and a little bit more tang. Texas Pete. Oh yeah, don't be shy, folks. Oops. That ought to do it. And usually if I was making whole hog, I wouldn't be kind of breaking it up this much. I'd want those textures to really shine through, but for what we're doing today, I want these to be a little bit more on the homogeneous side. Just a light chopping for any pieces of stubborn loin meat. Beautiful. Let's move on to this skin. Ooh, beautiful stuff. Oh my God, that was so good. Always is. If you ever want to make a friend for life, grab yourself a little piece of skin, put a little whole hog on there, and that's it. Oh, it's so good. And just like that, we've got our beautiful whole hog-ish, and of course, our beautiful chopped up skin. Smelling just so good. At long last, it is time to assemble our little pulled pork egg rolls. So of course, we need some egg roll skins. Ooh, never made an egg roll before. So first things first, we need to grab ourselves a nice little bundle of some of our pulled pork, some of our crispy pork skin right on top, and then of course some of our coleslaw on top. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, this is going to be a very thick egg roll. And then simply enough, we're going to just try and roll this bad Larry up, snugging everything back nice and tight. Oh, I'm making a mess. Look at me go. The first one's always going to be ugly, folks. We'll bring in those side edges, just like wrapping a brisket. Get out of here. Freaking vegetables always ruining my day. Got a little egg wash over here. We're gonna just rub that on this side to make sure everything's sticks. Okay, well, clearly that was just a fail. We're gonna try that again. Pulled pork, crispy skin, coleslaw, edges coming in, little egg wash over here, and then we finish the roll. Oh, and there we have it, little pulled pork egg roll. And now we repeat. And simply enough, we're just gonna drop these bad boys in. We're rocking about 350 degrees in this oil. And really, we're just looking to crisp the skin, make sure they're nice and golden brown. Ooh, and just like that, these things are looking absolutely beautiful. I mean, what's not to like about a deep fried piece of pulled pork covered in crispy skin with some lovely coleslaw? Heaven. Not a bad cross section on
Oh my God!
Oh, that's lovely.
Hands down the best egg roll I've ever had.
The crispy skin with the crispy outro, what more do you need?
Dude, the pork just comes through. Every egg roll I've had in my life, the meat gets lost.
I feel like it's the same with a Rangoon or something. People are skimping on the meat, but this is 90% meat.
This is so good.
Yeah, that's tasty.
There's skin in there? Mm-hmm. There's skin in there.
Held up well, too. I thought it might go soggy by the time we ate these, but little pops of crunch.
Stay warm, moist.
Think about how many of these you can make with one, like, Boston butt. Bring these to a football game.
For a whole party.
That's honestly a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Barbecue sauce or sweet chili?
Oh! It's just going to be good.
It's just a very pleasant bite.
I got grease dripping.
Grease drippage is a common occurrence on this patio.
I think I could have about 6 more of those.
Well, good thing I made 15 of them.
You didn't do a whole hog, it was shoulder, right?
It was a loin and belly section.
We struggle with this at the truck all the time. We break down a whole hog. We don't necessarily cook a whole hog, but we cook it in the style of whole hog, the same that you did here. Mm-hmm. Are you calling these pulled pork egg rolls? Are you calling them whole hog egg rolls? Direct pulled middle pork rolls?
Right. I've been referring to them as whole hog just because, again, it's the style.
I think that's what it comes down to is the style.
Because it's got the crispy skin, it's got the different textures of different meats. If it didn't have two muscles involved, I'd be calling it Carolina-style pulled pork.
Right.
But because it's got, you know, multiple muscles going on, it's got the crispy skin, cooked over coals, direct heat flavor.
Direct heat skin and multiple muscles, I think you're right. It's whole hog.
It's Midlands and loin. It's like the perfect combination for an at-home whole hog experience. I gotta say, folks, these are absolutely fantastic. You know, there's something just so tasty about it. All the textures work really well together. The flavors, they're so meaty. It's essentially just a pulled pork sandwich in a slightly different form factor that's a little bit lower carb and it's deep fried. So, it's obviously way better. Highly recommend it. So, good. Definitely making these again. But without further ado, I think it's time for the official taste test. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make some absolutely incredible pulled pork egg rolls. I highly recommend giving this one a try. They really were a lot better than I thought they were gonna be. And next time you make yourself some pulled pork, I'm sure you're gonna have some extra lying around. So pick yourself up some wrappers. These things come together real quick. Toss them in the deep fryer, or maybe even the air fryer, or just the oven. I don't know. We'll have to try it out. But it really is a great way to enjoy some amazing barbecue. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!